Hi, welcome to my lovely city garden in the middle of May in Massachusetts, and I may have screwed up my entire season. If you want to hear me whine about it, this is the video for you. It's the middle of May and I don't have a thing in the grounds. So, be in the middle of May, it's not too late to start a garden. However, I like to start my garden from seed. For that to happen, you need to start early and you have to take care of the seedlings and do a lot of stuff to prepare them for coming outside. So everything started off good. The year started off with me planning, sat down and made a plan on what seeds I was going to get, what I already had, what I was going to grow this year, when I needed to start each of the seedlings, and I did that. Starting off in February and March, I started the seeds, I took care of them, and then life happens. You ever get to a point in life where there's just not enough hours in the day between family, working, commitments, obligations? Well, that's what happened with me. Again, I did take care of the seedlings at all this time, but when I sow my seeds, I usually mass sow them. And when you mass sow them, eventually, once the seedlings start coming up, you need to separate them into their own pots so they have space to grow strong roots. Now that's one of the biggest fails with a lot of the different veggies I did. Now I'm going to go over what I did right and then how I ended up messing it up. So I'm going to start off with my cold loving crops because that was my biggest failure. Now that's going to be they call them brassicas, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, celery. These things need a long time to grow, but also can be planted outside a lot earlier than the other crops, and they don't mind the cold so much. So the point with those is you get them all sown, separate them, get them hardened up, get them outside, and they should have been growing out the here and by the end of April. So I started them in March, and by April they should have been in the ground. Well, it's the middle of May and they're not in the ground yet. They were growing pretty well. I got them to the point where I had to take them outside and start acclimating them to the outside, which is called hardening off. We had a massive windstorm. They got blown away, and the whole grouping of plants got taken right out of the pot. They all kind of stood together, and then I put them into the garden, and there they have sat ever since. Not in the ground, not growing. And I'm afraid that if I put them in now, it's just going to not give them enough time to grow. But I'm still going to try, because that's what I do. Every year something seems to come up, and I'm late putting stuff out into the garden. This year I think it's a little bit worse, but we'll get to that. And speaking of big windstorms, this is what ruined half of my perennial flowers. So I started 6 different perennial flowers outside using the winter sowing method. I put them out on my fire escape up on the 3rd floor. Probably not the best idea, but they were doing good for a long time, and they kind of enclosed, so I didn't think too much of the wind. We have had some windy nights. However, that same night the other vegetables got blown away in my backyard. 3 of the flowers flew off of the fire escape and landed down on the ground. Now, I was lucky enough to find them. However, they got all tossed up and they didn't survive. So I'm not even sure which ones they were, because I was a dummy and didn't follow some advice, and I wrote, even though I wrote on the outside of the container and had something on the inside, on the outside of the container all got worn off, and then on the inside, when those things flew away, that all flew away too. So I think if I go back to my video I made on it, I might be able to determine which ones they are. I do have 3 that are still thriving, 2 of which look really good, and 1 that only has like 1 seedling in it. But that's sort of a half and half. Some of it is a pass because I did get things to grow, and a fail because I didn't protect them enough. Now there are several things I wanted to start from seed outside by now, one of them being peas. Now peas should have been in the ground by the end of March, and by the latest April 30th. So in my zone, they might not have a great chance because it's already mid-May, and right now it's like 90 degrees out. We have had some really crazy weather. That's why I haven't started to harden up a lot of the stuff from inside, and other reasons. I'll get to that as well. But we had a couple weeks ago a week of 80s and 90s, and then it went back down to 40s and 50s, and it hasn't consistently warm at night. So that's another reason why I haven't started any of the warm crops outside, and they're not really ready. We'll get to that as well. And then although I started a lot of my seeds on time when they were supposed to, some things I just never got to do. Now I had flower seeds that I had saved from last year. I never got those started. Spinach. It's one of the things I really struggle with every year. I ended up buying two new packages of 2 different varieties this year to try it again, and I never got it in the ground or started indoors. Now I think I kind of wanted to do a winter sowing method with some of my cold loving crops, something I never got around to. Again, remember, not many hours left in the day for me, so I didn't end up doing that. So that's probably the reason why I didn't start spinach, but because otherwise, why didn't I start it? It should have been started already. And then the rest of the failures, little things. Now the garden, I was out here and very cleaning the garden. Everything looked really good. As the spring came, I just let weeds, aka pretty flowers and pretty random wild things grow in the garden. So right now the garden needs to be weeded a lot. That's only going to take a day or so. I'm not too worried about that. Another one, my lettuce. I need to start new lettuce because I started my lettuce indoors. Again, they did well. I took care of the seedlings, and then one day I noticed there was some bites on the leaves, and I realized my cat Brady had been eating it. I came back the couple days later and it looked like someone had sat in it, and her MO is to sit in plants in pots and things like that. So that's what happened to my lettuce. However, lettuce is something you can continuously grow throughout the season before it gets too hot, and I think it's plenty of time now to start some from seed outdoors. I'm going to do them right in a pot outside. That way I won't need to harden them off or anything like that. So back to separating the seedlings. So I like to mass sow things, like I've said, and then I like to separate them. It's really a relaxing thing, and you don't waste a lot of soil this way. So you see what actually grows and then pot that up. Now I had a tray of hot peppers, a tray of all my bell peppers, 3 different trays of tomatoes. And when I say trays, I have like these muffin, so you get muffins from a store. I get them from Stop and Shop. It's like a 4-pack of muffins. It's a little plastic container. That's what I use to start my seeds this year for a lot of the things. I drilled holes in it. I drilled holes in them in the bottom and the top, and I used it as a dome at first. And the plan was, once the seedlings emerge, you take off the cover, which I did, and then you eventually separate them once they have a couple of their true leaves. Now, that's where things went downhill for me. That's what I was not able to have time to do. And every day I would come home and say, I'm going to have time to do this, but it just got overwhelming, and with everything else I had going on, I didn't have time. Now the seedlings looks great. Some of them looked a little crappy, and that's to be expected. That's going to happen with anything that you grow. But some of them looked great. And just recently, like maybe 2 days ago, I finally had the time to sit down and separate them all. I almost contemplated not even separating them and just bring them out, getting them hardened up out here, and then just getting them in the ground. But the weather again has been a little weird. It hasn't been warm enough at night, and I didn't want to, after putting them through all of this, give them more stress by putting them out too early. So I took the time. It took me a couple of days, but I got through all of those every day after work for 3 days, and I separated them all. So those finally are all separated. All my tomatoes, all my peppers, and my eggplant. It was the first time I'm doing eggplant this year. I had it in a little pot, and I got 5 eggplant out of that, so I'm excited about that. And I don't have as many tomatoes and bell peppers that I have had in the past, but I'm not mad about that, just because I had way too much, I think, and having less is going to give me the opportunity to pay more attention to each variety. And so I am not by any means giving up on this garden. I am still going to try to get my cold loving crops in the garden. I'm going to start some of the things I wanted to start from seeds here in pots. I still have carrots I want to get in. Never too late for those. I'm still going to try my peas. I have 2 varieties of peas. I started them late last year. They didn't do so well. But I've got the seeds, and I don't want them to go bad. They don't last that long, so I'm going to plant them out anyway. Still want to do that spinach, and this week I'm going to concentrate on getting all the weeds out of the garden and getting things planted. Now, since I just potted up all those tomatoes and peppers and eggplants, I'm going to let them sit for a bit, let them keep growing, and over the next week I'll stop bringing them outside and getting them hardened up to start living out here for good. So thanks for listening to me whine. I know it's a lot. blah, 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 blah. But stay tuned and let's see if we can get this garden turned around.